And welcome everyone to another fun episode here of Isles Talk. This is going to be a longer version of Water Cooler Talk tonight. Um, Rumor edition here on Isles Talk. We are joined by Joe Panettiere. Joe, how are you?
Everything's good, Paul. How about you?
I'm all right. Well, listen, we did get complaints last week. We did get complaints. Um, some people, they understand when you're busy and it's legit. They understand, when this Joe Panettiere shows up, there's no big deal. However, they know you went to a bar during the show. They ratted you out. So this is the Joe Panettiere when he does not show up on purpose because he head to the bar when he wasn't supposed to. So not my fault. The fans ratted you out on that one, Joe. There's nothing I can do about it. You got caught.
That bus just rolled right over me and then
right back. But ladies and gentlemen, the real reason why we have this show tonight is that we have Lyle Richardson joining us here. Hockey news, Bleacher Report, the Montreal Gazette, or no longer there, Lyle?
No, the Bleacher Report, the Hockey News, my own site, Spector's Hockey, of course.
Yep.
The German site, Ice Hockey News, and the Guardian, PEI. So I'm kind of spread around all over the place.
Beautiful. Excellent. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, we want to make this very, very clear. This is more entertainment than anything else. Rumors usually last for about 3 days or so, unless you're in Toronto, where they last about 3 months to 6 months, depending on the player. So take everything with a grain of salt. This could all be over by tomorrow. It could be over in 3 days. Who knows? But the trade deadline is on March 8th, just a little over 2 weeks away. So some of this water cooler talk tonight could still be relevant. We're not sure yet. But speaking of throwing friends, people, teams under the bus, Lyle, we're going to come at you with this first question. We want to know how much money, and we know Calgary is trying to build up their new arena. How much is Calgary getting paid to not trade their players right now in order for the Canadian media, NHL network, to build up revenue, to get all that media attention on March 8th? How much is Calgary getting paid under the table for these trades not to happen? I mean, let's think about this. We had Lindholm, we had Tanev, and we had Hanifin. Hanifin's pissing me off. Anyway, they traded Lindholm. Wonderful job. Thank God for Jim Rutherford and Lou Lamoriello for starting trades in January like they're supposed to. But no, Calgary's got to go another step. Oh, that was so much fun. Let's bring Markstrom into this fold. And they still have 3 players that are supposedly on the trade block. Markstrom was supposed to be traded as of Monday. That was like a done deal. And all of a sudden, poof, he's still here in Calgary. Lyle, help us out here. How much is Calgary getting paid under the table to keep all this media attention going?
1 million Canadian dollars.
Exactly.
There you go. If only it was something like that, Paul. It would be wonderful. That's Alberta politics, and you don't want to get into that. That's you think you got a swamp in Washington. Oh boy. Anyway, the whole reason behind this right now, there's a couple of factors here. First of all, there are a lot of teams that are very interested in Chris Tanev, that are very interested in Noah Hanifin. The problem is that this year is a unique season because you have 2/3 of the league have very little cap space to spend by the trade deadline. So what you're seeing right now is you're seeing some teams that as you guys know, you can accrue cap space over the course of the season up to deadline day. And that's what some of these teams are doing. It's like they're telling the Flames, look, we can't afford him now. Okay. In 2 weeks time, unless one of our guys gets injured and goes on long-term injury reserve, we can afford him then. So that's part of it. Part of it is just good old-fashioned, it's the version of playing chicken. For example, the Flames are asking for a first-round pick for Chris Tanev, but reportedly teams are just offering second rounders. So right now, that's what it is there. You see how some general managers are just they're trying to wait out the Flames in hopes that Craig Conroy, their general manager, will get nervous as trade deadline day approaches, and he'll start lowering his asking price. So there's that aspect of it as well. Because the Lindholm thing was was just a unique thing of just everything falling into place at the right time. And as you said, Jim Rutherford, I mean, yeah, he's not the general manager, but I mean, he's management, let's be honest. And
right.
Yeah, there's a reason why the Canucks have been the busiest team in the trade market this year. Since the start of the season, the Lindholm deal was their 5th trade. Most teams haven't even done one yet. And yet, exactly. Jim Rutherford's just like, come on, you guys, come on, roll it. Let's do this. Come on. But he's a savvy horse trader. And the Lindholm thing came together for them and for the Flames, because they got back a good player in Kuzmenko along with, draft picks and prospects. So it worked out well for them. But for Tanev and Hanifin, and even for Markstrom as well. Markstrom, that whole thing that I talked about salary, the holdup there is the New Jersey Devils really, really, really want to get this guy. And apparently they're willing to part with either Alexander Holtz or who's the other young guy? There's another young guy there. They want a Dawson Mercer. So it's either Dawson Mercer or Alexander Holtz plus a first-round pick plus prospect Seamus Casey. Now, that's what's been kicked around, that was what their offer could be. And apparently, Markstrom would have no problem waiving his movement clause to join the Devils. And why not? They're a team on the rise, right? Yeah. I mean, yes, they've struggled this year, but they struggle because their goaltending's terrible.
Right.
But he'd be willing to go there. But he carries $6 million a season for 2 more seasons. And while the Devils have the cap space this season because they've got Dougie Hamilton on LTIR, they can't afford him beyond this season. They can't afford him next season. Okay? Not unless the Flames retain salary, and that's the hold up with that. Is they want the Flames to retain up to half, and the Flames are going, to retain salary for a season. I think they'd be willing to do that if he only had a year left on his contract. They might be willing to do that. 2 years, no. Even with the cap going up, it's still to have like $3 million in dead cap space for next season and the season afterward. That's a long time to carry. Especially if you're going to have young guys on your team that you're going to be wanting to re-sign. So anyway, that's what's going on with Calgary in a nutshell. Trust me, Hanifin's going to get traded. Tanev's going to get traded. Markstrom might get traded if somebody's willing, if they can convince the Flames to retain salary. But if not, they can afford to wait. But Tanev and Hanifin definitely. But that's the reason for the holdup. And it had nothing to do with money under the table for an arena. As entertaining as that would be, Paul, that would be very entertaining if that was the case.
I have a question
for creativity, but seriously, that was really good. I never thought of that.
Lyle, do you think I have 2 questions for you about the trading deadline. Do you think most of the deals will be the week of or on the day of the trading deadline?
Well, Joe, it could end up being this season. It could end up being much closer to, and in fact, maybe even on deadline day, kind of like what we always saw in the past, which is what used to make the deadline day so exciting. But in recent years, most of the notable names would be gone, weeks ahead of time, and we were just left. Oh, yay! Somebody traded for a third liner.
Right?
Yay.
Yeah.
This year, though, because of the factors that I pointed out, and especially because of so many teams having limited cap space, and we're talking the contenders because they're the buyers, it could go right up to, I mean, you may see some names drop before then, but there's a good chance that a lot of the notable names that could still be there, could still be available when deadline day rolls around on March 8th, just because of this whole cap space thing.
And all right, second part of that question. Mm-hmm. Give me 2 teams No, you don't have to give me the player that they'll trade for, but give me 2 teams that make the big deals.
Ooh. Okay. New Jersey. They got to. They got to get a goalie. So
Agreed.
I think New Jersey for sure. I think Tampa Bay could surprise us because they got Sergachev now on LTIR for the rest of the season. I'm going to give you a third. Vegas Golden Knights, because Jack Eichel's on LTIR now. And they did this and they did this last year with Mark Stone on LTIR. So all of a sudden they're in the game. If Eichel is out until the playoffs start, they're in the game and they'll be in big time.
They're pulling a Tampa Bay.
They did that last year.
They did that last year too, but
yeah. But remember, guys, this is totally legal. It is totally above board what they're doing. Right. And listen, the NHL general managers and the team presidents, the team owners, they all had the opportunity to address these LTIR shenanigans back 4 years ago now, when they extended the current CBA, and they decided, nah, we're good. We're fine with this, because while it may benefit one team one year, it will come around and benefit you maybe the next year. And I'll give you very quickly, perfect example of that. You think of the 2015 playoffs, Chicago Blackhawks. Patrick Kane suffers a broken collarbone, right? He's out for the rest of the regular season. His $10.5 million now, that frees up $10.5 million cap space. They go out and they bring in like 3 or 4 players, and that gave them the depth they needed, put them over the top, and they won the Stanley Cup. The team they defeated in 2015 for the Stanley Cup, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Fast forward 6 years later, Nikita Kucherov out for the season, back in time for the playoffs. They go out and use the LTIR money to bring in a whole bunch of players. They win the Stanley Cup. That's the NHL version of karma.
Yep.
There it is. It comes around. So, yeah.
All right. That's
so listen, let's move a little bit forward here. We're going to keep things a little closer to us, the Eastern Conference here, and we're going to start off with the Atlantic Division. Lyle, we know you are a Canadiens fan as well, so I want to start with the Canadiens first. In all honesty, we're not dealing with Marc Bergevin, and it's very weird to say that. We have Martin St. Louis here as the general manager.
He's the head coach. He's
the head coach. Right.
Yeah. Ken Hughes is the general manager now.
Yeah. This is a pretty good Canadiens team that seem to be coming together. At least they're coming together, like during the second half of the season. Do you see them selling off heavily, or do you see them keeping some of the players? I don't want to say if it's not broken, don't fix it, but adding on possibly to what they already have in anticipation for next season.
Well, they're definitely in rebuild mode. They have been since this is actually the second full season of their rebuild under the new management now with Ken Hughes and with Marty St. Louis.
Yes.
Yeah, and with Marty St. Louis as I just said it, as the head coach. But St. Louis is having input in this as well.
Right.
And Jeff Gorton as well, who the former Rangers GM, who's now he's basically Ken Hughes' big boss. So the three of them. They already sold one player. If you want to say they were sellers, with Sean Monahan being traded to Winnipeg, but they got a first round pick out of that. Okay. Yeah. Which was expert. That is a masterclass in asset management, because when they acquired Sean Monahan from Calgary 2 years ago, they were doing Calgary a favor to get his contract off the books. And Calgary included a first round pick in the deal. So they got a first round pick from Calgary for Sean Monahan. And then they get a first round pick from Winnipeg for Sean Monahan. Wow. So, yeah, that's very well done. Yeah. But they are still rebuilding. There are some players there, like a lot of their pending unrestricted free agents. You got guys like Tanner Pearson. He's just one off the top of my head here. They will likely listen to offers for him. David Savard, their defenseman, he's got another year left on his contract. Ken Hughes said he's not shopping Savard, but that doesn't mean he's not listening. If somebody's willing to overpay, he'll move him. Jake Allen, they've been trying to move him most of the season. They've been carrying 3 goalies all season long, because they don't dare put Caden Primo on waivers to send him to the minors because they know somebody will pick him up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they stuck with 3. They've been trying to move Jake Allen now for a while. It's still possible they could, but hey, they're comfortable sticking with those 3 goalies for the rest of the season. And then they could look at maybe moving Allen in the offseason because he's another one with a year left on his contract. So they're selling, but they're not in a major sell-off here.
You're in no rush.
No. And what they've got to sell off is now, I mean, Sean Monahan was their biggest piece, right? And they got a first-round pick out of that. So mission accomplished there. Anybody else they get, if they can stock up on some more draft picks and maybe grab a prospect or 2, that's great. But they're already very well stocked already. Like their farm system, The Athletic rated them as having the 10th best farm system in the league right now. They are very well stocked with young talent in the farm. They're very well stocked with up-and-coming young talent and established. I mean, you got Nick Suzuki, he's already established. Cole Caulfield, who's recovering well from the last season's shoulder injury. Uros Lakoski, the first-round pick in 2020, first overall pick in 2022, who has really he's blossoming before our eye. Montreal fans, I can tell you right now, we are all very excited about this kid. You know, I mean,
I'm going to throw in.
Yeah,
back in another younger player, Caden Gould. Caden Gould.
Yeah, Caden Gooley as well on defense. I mean, he's proven himself as a top 4 defense. Well, hell, he's on the top pairing. So, you know, he's playing very well. Sammy Montembeault he's taken over the reins as their starting goaltender, and he's played very, very well for them as well. So yeah, Montreal is in a good place right now. Now, next season, they're going to want to, you know, Canadians fans are going to want to start to see some improvement, start to challenge maybe for a wild card or for a playoff spot. But this season so far, they're in good shape in terms of where they're going, the direction of the rebuild. So no, they're not going to be in a massive sell-off. They'll get what they can get for, you know, a couple of the players that they may try to move. But the rest of it, they're going to be fine with what they got. It's going to be, let's develop our kids, you know, and I think you'll see them in the off season, perhaps look at adding a scorer. You know, they've got a really killer first line right now with Suzuki and Caulfield and Slafkovsky. But they're going to want to bring in another scorer, I think, and they're so. I think you'll see them draw on some of their draft picks and prospects that they got to use as trade bait in the offseason to bring in an established scorer, somebody who fits within their rebuild timeline. So not a guy who's in their 30s, but somebody maybe mid-20s who's an established scorer. You hear Trevor Zegras' name being kicked around a lot too out of Anaheim. Right. I don't know if they would go after him, but that would be, I think, kind of the guy that the type of player they'd have in mind if they were going to go look for a scorer.
Beautiful.
I'm looking at their roster. They have a lot of young kids that are 6 foot and tall, you know, and big team.
They're a big team, but they've got a lot of skills and they skate like the wind. So yeah. There's potential for a really, really terrific team here down the road if they develop them properly. The potential's there.
Wow, that's good. That's nice.
All right. Let's expand now to the Atlantic Division. Let's go with a theme of teams I don't trust or general managers I don't trust. I don't trust Steve Yzerman, and take this as a compliment. Mm-hmm. I don't trust Steve Yzerman in Detroit right now. Mm-hmm. I do not trust the Tampa Bay Lightning now that they just got more long-term injured reserve space to make a move. Let's start with those 2 for now. Okay. Tampa. Could Hanifin be a spot?
Yes.
For Tampa.
Yes. Yeah. Tampa. Yeah. That's actually been mentioned. That has been suggested that they could be in on him. They wouldn't be if Sergachev was healthy and playing, they wouldn't be, you know. Correct. They would have no need to, but they kind of have a need to now because that's a big piece off their blue line. So I think you're going to see them looking at somebody, a puck-moving defenseman. I don't see them going after somebody like Chris Tanev. Not that there's anything wrong with Tanev, but Tanev's older. He plays more of a shutdown style game. They need somebody who's going to move the puck, right? And is going to, you know, be on that, work on their power play, and you know. So I think they would have an eye on somebody like Hanifin. You know, a puck-moving defenseman if they can get him of the quality of Hanifin. The problem is there's not many guys like Hanifin that are going to be on the trade unless somebody that we're not aware of ends up there. You could look at maybe Philadelphia and Sean Walker, but Sean Walker, Walker moves the puck, but he doesn't really play that kind of style of game. So, Hanifin, I could definitely see them after him.
Detroit, they already brought in Patrick Kane,
Mm-hmm.
and they're now winning with him in this lineup. They weren't doing that ahead of time, but now they're winning.
Yep.
Do you run with the kids and see how far they can go? Or are you more of a buyer for Steve Yzerman this year? Like, how important is getting into that playoff spot this year?
Getting into that playoff spot is very important, because if they don't, they will set a franchise record for the most seasons missing the playoffs. And that's something I'm pretty darn sure Steve Yzerman does not want to have on his resume as their general manager, even though he wasn't the general manager for all of it. It
Right.
started with Kenny Holland, but I
Right.
don't think he wants to have that on his resume. I think he buys this year. Now, I don't think he's going to go crazy. Okay. I don't think he's going to, but I can definitely see him looking at trying to bring in, maybe a second line scorer, maybe add to the defense, one or two of those. I can see him kind of making that move. And don't forget, Yzerman has surprised us before at the trade deadline. You think back, I think it was 3 years ago when they did the whole Mantha for Jacob Vrana deal. At the time, it looked great with Washington. It didn't pan out well for either club, but at the time, It was a big deal. It was a hell of a move. And he did that at the time when his team was nowhere near the playoffs. They were still down near the bottom of the thing. So I think this is the year now. Like last season, they weren't within reach of the playoffs. The year before that, so he wasn't going to go and waste assets. But with his club battling hard for one of those 2 wildcard spots, I think he buys.
He might go for that shutdown defenseman you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I could see him do that. And as I said, maybe add another depth scorer. I could see him going that route too.
All right, let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Must we?
Yeah, I know.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. We also have friends who are Maple Leafs fans here too. We're gonna bash them too. Listen,
it's water cooler.
As far as I'm concerned, and I don't want to see this happen to him, but if Austin Matthews misses any games for any sort of reason, I don't see the Leafs doing squat.
Oof, yeah, that's yeah. Right now, I'm just hearing a whole bunch of Leafs fans in my head going, "Don't say that!" Yeah, well, there it is. There it is. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, but because boy,
what does Toronto need?
Oh boy. Okay, they first and foremost.
Where's the laundry list?
Defense, and defense. And yeah, if you can get a goalie in there, like a true starting goalie, sure. But right now, I think they're fine now with Samsonov and Marty Jones. Plus, Joseph Woll is coming back from his injury. I believe he's going to be doing some conditioning with the Marlies before he's ready to come back and play. Excuse me. So I think they're going to be fine with the goalies. But boy, do they ever need help on D, especially on the right side. That seems to be the nagging issue for them for the last 7 years, has been finding that top 4 right side D. And, they tried with John Klingberg, and he was that nagging hip injury, so he's out of commission. TJ Brody, God bless him, he's tried his, he's been a stalwart for him for several years, but season he's really showing the mileage this season now.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So. Listen, Brad Treliving, the general manager, what I've heard, take it all with a grain of salt. What I heard was that back about 4 to 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, he tried to acquire Chris Tanev and Nikita Zadorov from the Flames. Now, this is before Zadorov got traded to Vancouver, but he tried to get both of them. Okay. So I think a lot of people will say, well, that's not a big secret. We heard that one. Yes. But here's the other thing, though. About 4 to 6 weeks ago, there was talk of a team that tried to acquire Sean Walker and Nick Seeler from the Philadelphia Flyers. Put 2 and 2 together here. Who do you think that team was?
Definitely Toronto.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Those 2 would have been a lot more affordable, a lot more easier on the pocketbook than Tanev and Zadorov would have been, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen. Now, Sean Walker maybe could end up going to Toronto, but right now, like Brad Treliving really wants to get Chris Tanev. He's a former Flames general manager. He signed Chris Tanev when he was a free agent 4 years ago. He knows what Tanev can do. So yeah, he really wants Tanev. In a fair and perfect world, he'd want Hanifin as well, but Hanifin's a bridge too far. They can't afford him. So it's going to be Tanev as their shutdown guy, because we talked about at the start of or before the show, guys, about how you need like your team to be heavy for the playoffs, to play a physical style, and that's where Tanev excels. So that's the guy they're looking at.
All right, so real quick, we're down to Boston, we're down to Florida.
Yep.
They're up. They're 1-2 in the conference for the most part here. Yeah, we'll put Boston ahead of the Rangers because this is an Islanders podcast here. So we're gonna put Boston ahead of the Rangers here. So
well, you can
Panthers
because
and
we're ahead of them in
Boston,
the
the
standings.
top two. Yeah, they're top two in the conference.
Yep.
They're already loaded.
Mm.
I mean, there have been some reports Hanifin wants to go to Boston. It may not happen now. I wouldn't be shocked if Boston pulled a trade like that, but I don't know if now is the right time. What do you do when you're the top team? Basically, you're the top teams in the conference. You're going for a Stanley Cup. Is it good to make a move, or should they stand pat and let this team run since they're already up there?
Yeah. Well, for the Bruins, what's going to make this easier for them is two things. Number one, they don't have enough cap space. So they'd have to pull off some really fancy salary cap gymnastics here to make this work. If they were going to go after somebody like Hanifin, and yeah, like Bruins GM Don Hanifin, he has coveted Noah Hanifin since his draft year. He would love to get Noah Hanifin. I think he's going to have to wait until this summer to sign him as an unrestricted free agent. I think Hanifin wants to go to Boston, but I think he also understands the reality of the situation. They can't afford to acquire him, you know. And the other thing is they lack the tradable assets. They don't have a first round pick. They don't have a second round pick. You're right. Their prospect, the Athletic rated their prospect pipeline 30th. Okay, so they don't have very much. They're not going to put it this way. I will be shocked if they won a bidding war for Noah Hanifin with the other teams that are going to be involved. So yeah, I don't think they can do that. I'm not saying they can't make it happen, but you're going to have to move out some salary to do it.
Yep.
It's
and that'll ruin the chemistry.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You have to be very, very careful. Sometimes, and that's what happens when you look at some teams, you go, gee, why didn't they make a move? And sometimes it's like, we don't want to risk breaking up the chemistry in the room, you know? So sometimes the best trades you make are the ones you don't, right? With Florida, though, I think there's a lot more of a hunger on Florida's side to make a move because they came so close last year. You know, you get to the Stanley Cup. Yeah, they lost in 5 games. They were a banged up team by the time they got there. I mean, they overachieved. They worked their asses off to get there. I mean, for God's sake, I mean, Matthew Tkachuk, his brother had to help him get out of bed in the mornings because he had a cracked sternum, for heaven's sakes. You know, these guys were beaten up. And I think they want to add some more depth. I know Bill Zito wants to add more depth. Again, the cap situation, he's a little tight on the cap, not as bad as the Bruins. He does have some more tradable assets in terms of draft picks and some prospects. Again, not great, but more than where Boston's sitting. They're sitting in a better position than Boston. Sure. So I think Zito will make a move. I think he could look to shore up the D, but I think he's okay. I think he'd be okay there. I think he's looking for a top 9 forward. If he can add another scorer in there, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to bring back Anthony Duclair. Anthony Duclair played very well for them. You know, he played well from the playoffs last year. He missed half of last season injury, but he was just a workhorse for them in the playoffs. And he had a 30-goal season the season before that. I wouldn't be surprised if they looked into it. I don't know if it's possible, but maybe the Sharks could retain half of his salary for the rest of the season if they could maybe swing it. I don't know. But I can see them trying to bring in another top 9 forward.
Okay. So we purposely skipped over Ottawa. We're going to hold on to Ottawa in a little bit here. We're going to move over to the Metro.
Yep.
You and I were having a great conversation about Philly before Lyle came on. We don't know if Philadelphia is rebuilding, and even if they are, they're not showing it. John Tortorella, Jack Adams, Coach of the Year nomination, bare minimum.
Yeah.
If you're sticking with the plan, the logical thing to do would be to sell some of those players, but This is not a logical season. No one had Philadelphia where they are right now, even now.
Yep.
If you're Philly, are you buying or are you selling?
Well, maybe a little from column A and a little from column B. I know that sounds like I'm waffling here, but yeah, it's kind of hard to, yeah. When the season began, nobody, and I don't even think even their most fanatical fans had the Flyers making the playoffs this year. The fact that they've been, well, let's face it, since the middle of December, they've been hanging on to third place in the Metro for about 2 months now, and they're not showing any signs of letting it go. They kind of wobbled a bit before the All-Star break, but then they turn around, they come out and they win 5 of 6, right? And they do it without their starting goalie, right? Who may never play in the NHL again, by the way. But let's not drift too far off into that.
Right.
But the point is they are exceeding expectations. But I think this is also an opportunity for Daniel Briere, the general manager, to kind of really take a good look at this team and try and get it really nailed down what he's got here, for the pieces going forward. Yeah, if the plan was to be sellers when the season began, everybody knew, they're going to be sellers. Of course they were going to be sellers. But now, do you really want to jeopardize your chance? Now you can say, oh, well, what's the point of making the playoffs if you get bounced in the first round, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, they probably would get bounced in the first round, but maybe not, right? As we all know, hey, make the playoffs, anything can happen. It's not just a cliche. But I think, look, if they got a really, really good offer for somebody like Sean Walker, if a contender got really desperate, let's just say for argument's sake, Boston got real desperate and said, I will give you a first round pick in 2025. Okay. Because I don't have one to give you this year. And Matthew Poitras for Sean Walker. Well, of course, Daniel Briere would do that. Now, again, as you said, this is just water cooler talk. We're not, we are not saying that's happening. It's not. But if a general manager was to make an offer, a really good offer, then yeah, Sean Walker gets traded. And I mean, Tortorella, he said earlier this week that, look, he told the media, he said, I sat down and talked to the guys whose names are being talked about in the trade market. I just want them to know what's going on. So out of respect, so they don't sit there and go, what's going on? And then bang, you're traded with no forewarning that this could happen. It happens. Right. So that's very classy by the organization to do that. That had Daniel Briere's blessing to do that. It's like, absolutely. So yeah, I think, look, Briere will trade guys depending on what the market will bear. If there's a terrific market for Sean Walker, if there's a terrific market for Scott Laughton, hell, if there's a terrific market for Travis Konechny, he'll pull the trigger. Sure. But Konechny's not going anywhere. Laughton, I don't see them trading their glue guy unless it's a significant offer. Walker, yeah, they could move him. They could. Yeah. But it's not going to be a big teardown thing. I would be shocked if they turned around and traded like 2 or 3 guys by the deadline. It might be one guy going, but we'll see. But yeah, that's what happens when your team exceeds expectations. Now you got to kind of change on the fly a bit. But it gives you an opportunity to really evaluate your guys to see where you got to maybe it accelerates your retooling, rebuilding plan a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Joe, you're kind of, you get a lot of the Philadelphia, even though you live in Jersey, you get a lot of the Philadelphia reports and whatnot. What's the feeling over there? Do they want the Flyers to sell? Do they want them to buy?
No, they want them to buy. They want them to go for it. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the way they're going to go. I think they're going to make a move and go for it, especially if, let's say, the Islanders and Devils, teams that are behind them, make moves to better their roster, then the Flyers are going to be forced to make a move. I don't think if the Islanders and Devils make the big deals that Philly's going to turn around and say, all right, you know what? They just got, say, hypothetically, Islanders get like Tarasenko and the Devils get Markstrom and whoever else. I don't think the Flyers are going to turn around and say, oh, they just made these deals. Let's sell. You know what I mean? They're going to jump over us. Let's sell. I don't think that's going to happen. Tortorella's got them believing. And when you have a team that believes, those are the teams that are tough to beat.
Yep.
Come playoff time. and he's got them believing. I mean, you know, I live. I'm in it's called Southern New Jersey, but it's actually Central New Jersey. I'm in Jackson,
Yeah,
so
you
I
are
get
central. Right.
I get all the Flyer radio, talk radio. I get naturally the Devils. You know, I'm an Islander fan. I get all the Islander talk, but the Philly fans want them to go for it. They want them to go for it. They're hungry. They want playoffs. You know, you're this close. They don't want you to shut down. They want you to go for it. So,
Right. Okay. Well, let's talk about two teams that are definitely on the wrong side of the bell curve here. The Caps and the Pens. Penguins basically put up a fire sale today, except for their core players. And the Capitals, they've got some players, but I don't know. Ovechkin suddenly gets hot. There's that mentality. Let's do it for Ovi. Lyle, let's start with the Penguins first. Do you think they should just sell or continue to build with whatever they have?
They need to sell. They need
Okay.
it's time to wake up to reality. You know, you could have written off last season as just, well, that was an anomaly. You know, we're going to bounce back and blah blah blah. The core is too old. Okay. It just is. It just is. I'm not saying that to be disrespectful or hateful or anything like that. It is what it is. There's too many. That team is, I believe, they're one of the oldest teams in the league. The Penguins and the Capitals actually are two of the oldest teams in the league, and they're looking like it. Okay. And to just hang on and sacrifice what few decent tradable assets you might have, you know, for a desperate grasp at trying to maybe make the playoffs, and then what, to end up getting bounced in the first round, or hope for a miracle that Sid's going to be able to carry you the whole way. Come on, you know, it's time to face reality here, and it's time to sell. And listen, Riley Smith is going to get traded, and I would not be surprised to see him get traded back to Vegas. Vegas didn't want to trade him. They did not want to trade him. They did it for salary cap reasons. But if there's an opportunity to get him back, I think they would try to bring him back. Jake Gensel, if somebody's willing to pay, he's gone. He's gone. And he has to be. You have to wake up to reality here. Okay, he's going to get you some. You could say, well, maybe he might not get us any real decent things at the trade deadline. Well, you don't know. Now, if people are just offering you garbage, well, then okay, fine. You're better off than hanging on to him and see maybe if you can re-sign him and look at some other things. But if somebody's coming to you with a first round pick, a top prospect, and a good young player, take the trade. Do it.
Oh, yeah.
It's time. Now, I'm not saying you got to tear that team down to the studs and rebuild. You can retool, but it's time. You know, you're not buyers anymore. You're sellers, and it's time to wake up to that reality. The Capitals, I think the Capitals need to sell as well. Yeah, they kind of got a little hot here right now, but you know, they're pretty much in the same boat as the Penguins, as their great rival.
Right.
The two teams that had that from 2008 to 2022, you could say, or 2018, whatever, that whole period, it's over now. And it's time to be serious, and it's time to rebuild. And the Capitals, look, you got a guy like Anthony Mantha. He's on pace to score a career best 27 goals. See what you can get for him. See if somebody will cough up a first-round pick. Nick Dowd, a decent, he's a third-line center, very good checking line forward, very affordable. Hell, I've heard some pundits suggest that he could get you a first-round pick. Well, if somebody's crazy enough to do it, do it.
Yeah.
But it's, again, for those two teams, it's time, okay? Right. With Ovi, he's only got a couple more years left, and let's face it, everybody knows that the goal now is to get him over the line, to get him past Gretzky in the goal-scoring race. Everybody knows you're not contending for a Stanley Cup anymore. That's done. So wake up to reality. You can still start rebuilding and help Ovi get across the line here, okay?
Right.
But, yeah. That's what I think. They both need to sell.
Yeah. Devils. Goalie.
Yep. Big
goalie,
time.
Maybe a defenseman.
Goalie for sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm gonna throw this. I'm gonna throw this one out. And again, I haven't heard this around anywhere. We know Markstrom is expensive.
Mhm.
Jake Allen would probably fit under the Devils cap. Why not go back to someone who already knows the team on the cheap route and go for someone like Scott Wedgwood from San Jose? Why not bring him back?
Wedgwood, I think, is with Dallas, is he not?
Or Dallas, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah,
okay.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dallas really likes Wedgwood. Wedgwood's done a terrific job backing up Joel Ottinger.
Okay.
So you're probably not going to get him. Mackenzie Blackwood, maybe.
Blackwood.
Right? He's
That's
in
the
San
other one I
Jose.
was thinking of. Yes.
I thought that's what you might have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could, but honestly, I don't think Tom Fitzgerald wants to go there. And there's
Okay.
no disrespect to Blackwood, because despite, if you look at his first glance at his stats, you'd think, oh God, no, why would you go for him? But he's backstopping a terrible team in San Jose, and his underlying numbers aren't that bad. And the same with Capo Kakkonen as well.
Right.
So maybe you could go there if you're looking for affordability. Problem with Kakkonen and Blackwood is lack of playoff experience, and that I think is what's key for them. Markstrom is expensive. They would have to get him to retain salary, as we talked about earlier. I've heard they kicked tires on Elvis Merzlikins in Columbus. Maybe Merzlikins, if he's got a better team in front of him, maybe his stats improve. It's tough. Marc-Andre Fleury, maybe, but Fleury's 39, and he might be able to get you into the playoffs, but he's 39 and he's not going to be able to carry you deep anymore. Nope. So they are in a tough situation here. Whatever they can get, they've got to make a move soon, and they've got to do it. You've got $9 million in cap space because you've got Dougie Hamilton on LTIR for the rest of the regular season. You've got to spend that money and bring in help, because if you don't, what are you doing here?
Mm-hmm. We were saying that before. Every day that passes, the Devils are one step away from a playoff spot because they don't have that goaltender or they don't have that defenseman. Yeah. We were making fun of this before, but Jersey's going to make a move like 5 days ago, Joe, to get themselves somebody. So, is there anybody who's a good fit for the Devils, at least in goaltending, that you think could at least get them into the playoffs?
Markstrom. They got to go for it. They got to get that goalie, and they got to keep him there, because that's where they're lacking. Right. The Devils always had great goaltenders, or good goaltenders and a great goaltender. That was never really their problem. Now it is. And now you got to go out, and I think Fitzgerald's going to do it. I think he's going to go out and get that big name back in net and solidify that position. They have to do it. They have to. Forget about the defenseman. Go out and get that goaltender.
I agree with you. I do. And listen, if the whole thing trying to get Markstrom from Calgary got hung up on salary retention, just look. You've got $9 million cap space, Markstrom's $6 million, and he's signed for 2 more years. If the Flames won't retain, okay, fine. Acquire him now, and you can look at maybe in the offseason finding ways to create some room so you can keep this guy. Because you're right, they're going nowhere with the goaltending they've got.
Right.
Okay, exactly. And I mean, Vanacek just got put on LTIR. Or not LTIR. If he did, geez, they'd be a lot more money. But he got put on injured reserve, retroactive to February 10th. Okay? So you got Schmid, and you're going with Dawes. And Dawes is going to be a good goaltender. I mean, he's shown the flashes of it, but he's not there yet. Not there yet. You need an established guy. Markstrom signed for 2 more years. If he's willing to come to New Jersey, just take on the damn contract. You can sort out the money afterwards. You got time. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Because as I mentioned earlier, the Devils are still interested in acquiring him. So maybe they're trying to look around at some way that they can finagle this in a 3-team deal or something. I don't know. But I agree. If they don't get a guy, and Markstrom's the obvious choice. Everybody else we talked about, I don't think is going to put him over the top.
No, I don't think so either. I agree with you.
Again, I'm going to put the Rangers and Carolina in the same boat as the Panthers and Boston, although I don't think either one of those Metro teams can get past either one of the Panthers or Boston at the moment. Carolina could be a different beast if Anderson comes back, but he hasn't been that great in the playoffs either. Um, Lyle, is there a spot that they can go for? Is it more defensive depth?
From what I've heard and read, Don Waddell is he's another one looking at maybe adding a top 9 forward. Defense, they are actually set. They are actually set very well. They got one of the deepest defense cores in the league. I mean, Tony DeAngelo, they've been using him as a 7th defenseman, for heaven's sake. Like, he popped up in the rumor mill recently, but honestly, I think they're going to hang on to him.
He's always in the rumor mill.
Yeah, but I think they're going to hang on to him for the rest of the season just because they need the depth. The goaltending, he said, Waddell apparently is fine with what he's got. Kochetkov is actually, he's been showing improvement. He's coming along. I think he's comfortable with him. Freddie Anderson, actually, Anderson doesn't do too badly in the playoffs. It's just, unfortunately, he gets injured a lot.
Yes.
He's at that stage in his career. He gets banged up a lot. When he's healthy, he plays very well. So they're comfortable with those guys. But yeah, he's apparently looking at if he can add. And what he's looking at adding is not a rental player, by the way. He told Pierre LeBrun, in the Athletic, that he's not looking at rental players. If he acquires somebody, it's going to be somebody who's got term under contract. So they're looking forward, always wanting to bring in guys that will help them now and down the road.
Okay. Real quick on the Rangers, if they need anything, I still think it might be defense.
Again, it's interesting.
Maybe a bottom 6 forward.
They've been linked to Adam Henrique out of Anaheim to put him in that third line center position. There's also talk of them bringing Frank Vetrano back. Remember, they had Vetrano as a rental player 2 years ago. He played very well for them in the playoffs. They kind of looking at both of them, but I think Henrique is probably the better pickup there. He's a versatile two-way forward. Yes, he plays center, wins faceoffs. He's more comfortable on the wing, but he can play center for you if you need him to. As I said, versatile two-way guy. And I think that's kind of the hang up with him is $5.825 million cap hit for this season. If they want the Ducks to retain, it's going to cost them. Okay. And that's where you started hearing the guys like Capo Caco floated in the rumor mill recently. They're not going to trade Caco, by the way, but they're not. But you got to give to get. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do there. So yeah, it looks like they're thinking forward. I think they're okay with defense. Obviously, they're gonna live and die with Shesterkin in goal. So justifiably. So yeah. That's what we're looking there. Henrique also he's a bigger body guy. Brings a little more physicality to the game as well. So, and he has that playoff experience. You got to go back to his Devils days for that, but he does have that playoff experience. So yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So we're going to give Lyle a little bit of a break here, and we're going to talk Isles real quick. We're going to have him chime in if he's heard anything. But again, when it comes to Isles talk, folks, and it comes to actual rumors and whatnot, Joe and I do not say anything unless he and I can both get it confirmed. He's got his friends, I've got my friends, and they don't know each other. If we come out with the same kind of information, that's when we can comfortably and confidently tell you guys, yes, this has happened. And yes, these teams have at least talked. The one thing we can definitely bring up is that the Islanders and Ottawa Senators have done some talking. It just hasn't been once. It hasn't been twice. There's been multiple conversations over the last couple of weeks. We do not know who is involved. For those of you who have been following us, we've been saying Tarasenko now for what, Joe, the last 2 or 3 years?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And at this point, we would love to be the first ones to break it just to annoy Islander fans because they don't want it. I'm not even worried about breaking it. I would love to be the first of us, just to get thrown this bone, because we want to tick off Islander fans before the Islanders actually do. Like, that's the only reason why I would want this. I'm not even worried about breaking it. I just to get you guys riled up, because it honestly, I still think Tarasenko would work on that first line. He would definitely get that scoring going, and he's with Barzell, he's with Horvat. But again, we can't confirm it's Tarasenko. I still like Eric Brandstrom as a sixth defenseman, even though Mike Riley's doing really, really well. Dominic Kubalik is another one of mine. I don't mind picking up. He's another bottom six player. He can put in some goals. Angie, I love you. It's not going to be Sanderson. Sanderson is signed for life over in Ottawa.
No.
Oh yeah.
We do have a sense of humor. We do have a sense of humor over here. But
it's not going to be
Lyle, two-part question. Have you heard anything on the Isles? And B, your thoughts on Tarasenko possibly coming to the Isles?
Well, when it comes to the Isles and Lou Lamoriello, as we all know, you never hear anything about what Lou's up to
Exactly.
until the deal happens,
Right.
or on the verge of it. But you have to think that he's going to be busy. He's going to be looking at adding a score. You could also say, well, also perhaps maybe add a penalty killing defenseman as well, because they definitely need some help on that penalty kill. Oh boy, that was very evident in that outdoor game in the Stadium Series. Oh boy,
yeah.
Oh boy. But scoring's been an issue for them for a long time, and with Anders Lee now, fading. You hate to say it. I mean, God love him, but
it's the truth.
Yep, he's fading. Brock Nelson is still giving you everything, and he's looking good, but he's now in his early 30s. With Barzal and Horvat, you need another scorer in there. You really do. So if you can get an experienced guy in there, maybe somebody, I was going to even suggest somebody like Tarasenko until you guys mentioned them in Ottawa. If not Tarasenko, I'm sure that that Lamoriello will look around to see what else is out there to try and bring. Could even be somebody that none of us that has not even surfaced in the rumor mill, as we all know.
Right.
It's who's the most secretive GM in the business. So anyway, but I will be very, very surprised if he doesn't make a move before the trade deadline to at least bring in a second line scorer, or even a first line scorer.
He's got to complete that top line. That top line has to be complete.
Yep.
Well, what do you have? What did they say? What do you have that Ottawa will be asking for? Well, I honestly, Ottawa would want to get part of the return. Would have to be a player who can help them right now. It would have to be a younger player.
Okay. I'll throw in Wallstrom in there for you.
I was just going to say.
That's what it's probably going to be.
That could be a case of, because you could say, well, they wouldn't want Wallstrom. Why would they want Wallstrom? Well, sometimes with a young player, it's just a case of it's just not the right fit, and a team can look at a kid and go, yeah, he could work for us. I mean, that's why Beauvillier went to Vancouver. Now, it didn't work out for Vancouver either, but that was the mindset behind that. Why did they take Beauvillier? They took a chance. They thought, well, maybe coming out here, he'll rediscover his scoring form. And I think it'd be the same thing with Wallstrom. It's like, okay, change your senior, different coach, different players, different teammates. So yeah, you could throw that out there.
Yeah. And I'm gonna throw in one more. And again, I'm not confirming this. Although it's starting to make sense. I've heard the Islanders have said, quote unquote, hello to the Los Angeles Kings. And I'm leaving Wallstrom up here again because this is just for me and my own philosophy here, my own madness. Back in 2019, I was really hoping that the Islanders would draft someone like Arthur Kaliev, who was drafted by Los Angeles. And if there are two players right now who both need a change of scenery, it's Kaliev and Wallstrom. That would be a swap for swap.
Yep.
Now, Wallstrom probably has a better 200 game than Kaliev, which isn't saying much, but he's got a better 200 game because of the upbringing Wallstrom has had.
Mm-hmm.
Kaliev is a goal scorer. He can also help you on your power play. He's about as fast as Anders Lee, maybe a little bit faster, but he's 22. Okay. In terms of his 200-foot game, it's pretty much non-existent. And I think everyone would have to be in a plague in order for Kaliev to be on the penalty kill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He does nothing of the sort. But he does score goals. For being on a third line, he's anywhere from 13 to 17 goals, which is something Wallstrom does not do at the moment. And he's a year younger. So he was projected to be a top 6 forward when he was drafted. He is that, I don't want to say sniper, but he does have a shot. And, you know, Joe, you've said this before. Conditioning is everything. If you can get Kaliev conditioned over the summer, let him get under Wa's system fresh, top 6 forward to possibly replace Anders Lee on that top line. Maybe he's a plan B to Tarasenko if things don't work out in Ottawa. Give me your thoughts on that. How do you like that premise?
I like it. You know,
Okay.
listen, if we could get a guy, a younger Anders Lee, to wreak havoc in front of the net that could pop the puck in, say from the top of the face-off circles or whatever, I'm all for that move. But it's like you said, you have to bring him in over the summer, get him into shape, get him to know the system, and then pop him on the top line. Because to make that move now, to make that trade, that swap, he's not going to be effective for you.
Right.
Coming over and just learning a new system and expecting him to put the puck in the net. It's not going to work.
Right. No. Again, that's just out there. You know, that was just the Isles and Kings saying hello. There's nothing imminent. Yeah.
Teams talk all the time.
We'll see what happens. So, listen, Lyle, this has been a lot of fun. We are going to get into the stadium series that we're going to talk about that game in a little bit. Do you want to stick around or do you have to get going?
I do have to get going, unfortunately. That's why I was specific about an hour, but yeah.
Beautiful. No, that's fine. Listen, we want to thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
It was my pleasure, guys. I mean, yeah, we can do this again sometime.
Thank you. Yeah,
I was going to say, let's come back after the trade deadline and we'll see what happens here. Where can they follow you on social media?
Well, you can follow me on it's not called Twitter anymore, but whatever.
X. Yeah.
And X. Just Spector's Hockey. In there, and I also have Spector's Hockey's on Facebook as well. There's also my website, spectorshockey.net. And you can also follow me in Bleacher Report and Hockey News and all the other places we talked about earlier at the start of the show.
Beautiful.
Great.
So, Lyle, thank you for coming on, and we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay, it sounds good. We'll see what we can set up.
Okay.
Nice talking to you guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We got to do it, Joe. We got to do it. All right. So, listen, folks, this is what we're going to do here. We're going to bring you into our world, so to speak. We're going to have a conversation between the two of us. And, we're going to let you guys chime in the chat. So, join in whenever you can. But Joe, we briefly touched on this. That game was probably the greatest Islanders regular season loss in franchise history.
It was up there.
For me, it's got to be number one. I can't remember another heartbreaking loss like that.
That was crushing. Well, number one, the venue. You know what I mean? 80,000 people at a game. You know what I mean? You blow a lead. I mean, you just, it's the same thing. Same thing the last 3 seasons. that third period. I don't know if it's conditioning. I don't know if it's mental, but for some reason, this team can't put another team away. Granted, our penalty killing is atrocious. Okay, you're not making the playoffs unless you fix that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, this is what I miss. I miss a Scott Stevens. Islanders back up into their zone too deep. The Devils years back with Scott Stevens and Ken Danico, Bruce Driver, Wolanin, all the great defensemen. As soon as the player hit the blue line, they were stepping up on him. Now, I seen one of the Rangers, it might have been Zibanejad, with the puck, coming up to our blue line, two Islander defensemen back, and one forward, and nobody stepped up on him. Nobody stepped up on him. I mean, come on, you got to start taking these guys out.
Yep. Let me add to that. One of the Islander goals, and I know you guys are going to blame Mayfield and Barzell, and rightfully so, but this was another part here. I believe it was on the Rangers' first power play goal. Mika Zibanejad had the puck along the boards, right on the corner of the board and the blue line, and Casey was literally 2 feet away from him, and Zibanejad still had the puck. Casey did nothing except skate back, and Zibanejad then just passed the puck. It was almost like the Rangers knew the Islanders were not going to hit them. It doesn't have you don't have to smear Zibanejad across the wall there.
Right.
Any kind of impact to disrupt the flow, and they never did, and it ended up in the back of the net.
Right.
And Joe, I don't know if you've been noticing this either. For the life of me, why do we have to have two Islanders on the puck? I'm literally watching, and I think it was the Rangers' third goal. Noah Dobson has the puck below Sorokin's net.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, Romanoff meets Dobson at the almost as they're getting to that goal, that red line. They're both there.
Right.
Why are there two defensemen back there? And if you're a Rangers offensive player and you can hit, you just have two Islanders defensemen for the price of one. And that's what they did. They bottled up both defensemen. The puck is still deep in the Islanders zone. They make the pass and it's a goal.
Yeah.
And there was another play. Pierre Enval had the puck moving up towards the Ranger blue line. And Kyle Palmieri's like ready there, and they're like ready to go shoulder to shoulder. What is going on?
I notice on the penalty kill, when the Islander defenseman has the puck behind the net, they try to reverse cycle to the other defenseman to clear the puck out. Just send the puck up the boards. Bank it off the glass. Just get it out of there. You know what I mean? People, look, you're on a penalty kill. When the puck hits your stick, the natural move is to shoot it, to get it down the ice, clear it out of your own zone. But some of these Islanders players have nobody around them.
No.
And instead of taking their time and clearing it, they're turning it over. How many times, I think it was the last Rangers power play goal, did they turn it over at the blue line? The puck. They nearly got it out and they turned it over. I think it was either the second or third. I can't remember which one, but they turned it over 3 times by the blue line. That's bad. That's bad hockey.
Yeah. Is that on Huda or the players?
Players. That's on the players.
It's the players. Yeah, the players are in their own head, Thomas. And I'm going to go a step further. We've been saying this all season long. The Islanders lead the league. There's no official stats, so don't go looking for it. The Islanders lead the league in stupid penalties this year. Stupid. That's not Doug Huda. That's on the players.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 6 or 7.
The,
Yeah.
the last
It-
the
it's-
last tripping call on Mayfield, that was a little weak because he did try to play the puck. He tried to swipe it off his stick. I mean, is it a tripping? Yeah, it's a tripping. But you know what? It's a weak tripping. Some of the I think it was one of the hooking calls was weak. But hey, look,
Barzal, yes.
it's part of the game. But the thing I don't like lately, especially the last 3 or 4 weeks, the referees are more involved in these games when they shouldn't be. Now, you have 2 teams, Islanders and Rangers. They haven't played in over a year, 400 and something games, okay? Let the boys play. The fans haven't seen this. You're in an outdoor arena with 80,000 fans. Don't call the cheap penalties. You understand what I'm saying? And then a guy takes a stick to the face, and you don't call a penalty on that?
Right.
They're saying it was a follow-through. It wasn't the follow-through of a shot. His stick came up and hit him in the face. That's a penalty. But it gets
And
me.
the only way you can rise above this, Ryan, and you already know this, keep the sticks below. Keep the sticks on the ice.
That's it.
There are 2 types of lazy penalties. Tripping and hooking. Hooking is a little bit more in the gray area, but there's no reason for Matthew Barzal to hook that player or even put his stick up for that player to tuck his arm underneath the stick to make it look like it's hooking. Okay, because the refs are calling that too. Keep the sticks down. It's just fundamentals.
Right.
It's fundamentals, and it's just it's lazy. Both tripping and hooking are lazy.
Especially if you're on the power play. There's no reason for you to hook the other player, and there's no reason to put, and your stick should not be anywhere near a player's skates.
Right.
When you're on the power play. Okay, unless you're in the corner. That's a different story. All right, but with players skating, just skate after them. I mean, that's what's killing this team. They can't clear the puck, and the defenseman getting caught out of position.
Oh, bingo. You both said it at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with Jim. He's absolutely right. They're getting caught out of position.
Now, in all honesty, folks, the only way the players are going to get out of this jam is if they get themselves out of this jam. Communication is going to be absolutely key. I don't know what they're talking. I don't know how they're talking. I don't know if they're talking. I'm sure they are, but there's not enough. There's not enough, whether it's on the ice, off the ice, whatnot. They have got to be closer. I know they're a tight-knit group in the locker room, but you got to be a tight-knit group on that ice. It's got to start from somewhere. And again, Joe, I'm going to throw this out because we haven't talked about this yet. How much of a mental struggle was it losing to Carolina in that last game when they were just sitting back with the lead and Carolina came back and they beat them down, and then all of a sudden we're seeing it again this season? Are they in their own heads? Did Carolina really just ruin their confidence? Am I on the right track there, or is this something else?
I think it's part of it, because if they have a 2-goal lead going into the third period and all of a sudden the team scores within the first 2 or 3 minutes of the start of the third, they're saying, oh, here we go again. Okay, I believe that, but does it shouldn't have that effect if you come out and you play your game for 60 minutes. That's all the Islanders have to do. Play their game for 60 minutes. You're winning 3-1. Team makes it 3-2. Stick to your game. Don't change your game. Keep playing what got you the 3 goals. Okay? Don't do this shutdown. Just play your game.
Right.
The best way to play hockey, defensive hockey, is playing it in the offensive zone. That's it. And end the story.
Every goalie will love you for that. Every goalie will love you for that.
And everybody, Sorokin's not the same since he gave up that goal. Sorokin's still making the big saves. All right, does he give up the cheap goal over the blocker every now and then? Yeah. He gives up probably the same amount of goals over his blocker that Shesterkin gives up over his glove. And it's just that style that they play. They drop down to their knees, and you could see Sorokin's on his knees when the puck's behind his net. He's on his knees. Get up. Get up. You don't have to be on your knees. But is it a mental thing? It possibly is, but I think if they stick to their game, they'll break out of it. Now, everybody's saying, oh, Lou's going to make a trade for this guy. But listen, don't worry about Lou Lamoriello, okay? He's there to better the team, okay? Everybody fire Lou, fire Lou. He got you Horvat for Beauvillier. Come on.
Yeah.
And you want to get rid of this guy. A lot of times, people don't want to deal with him because he picks your pocket.
Right.
And people don't forget,
he does.
Forget that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look what
He
he did with
fleeces.
the Devils. Look what he did with Toronto. He again, I'll say it again. He got you Horvat for Beauvillier. I mean, come on. Look, the guy's definitely going to better the team. I think he's going to make a move to bring in a goal scorer, maybe like you said, bottom six defenseman. But they got to play their game. They play their game. They're going to be fine. We've seen flashes of it. And people watching that game, I'm going to flip the coin now. We showed the rest of the league how to beat the Rangers.
Yep.
Okay, the Rangers don't like to play a grinding game. They're not built for it. And look at our division and look at the Atlantic Division, and that's what you're going to be facing in the playoffs. You're going to be facing grinding teams, except for Toronto, but you're going to be facing grinding teams.
Right.
So, but
All
it's
right,
on
so to
them.
answer
It's on
Randy's
the players. Nobody else. It's on the
players. All right, so Randy is still a little salty that we threw Calgary under the bus tonight. So we're gonna answer this one question here. The only one though. When was the last time you've seen Isles play a full 60 minutes? Randy, I'm not gonna lie, just a couple of this season, but the Islanders have been going from 50 minutes to 52 minutes to 55 minutes to 56 minutes. They're almost there on a consistent basis. They're almost there. It's that 4 minutes that are driving Islander fans absolutely bananas this year.
Yeah.
It's literally the mental lapse on just a couple of plays. Okay. I know I saw it from Stefan Rosner, Joe. I think it was Jay Fresh's tweet. The Islanders are one of the top 10 teams or 11 teams to either hold a lead or not trail. It was astounding. All other 10 teams are in the playoffs right now, but the Islanders. They're the only team.
It's the penalty kill.
They don't trail. They're rarely losing. Right.
It's the penalty kill. You fix the penalty kill, you make the playoffs, you go deep in the playoffs. That's the way this team's built. That's the way they're built. They gotta fix the penalty kill. You can't give up 3-4 power play goals a game. You can't do it.
Right.
And I agree. Someone said stupid penalties. I don't remember who it was on the chat list. Someone said stupid penalties. Yeah.
Yes. Somewhere. We're getting a lot of no, we don't want to bring him back. Oh, Matthew Barzal is the captain of stupid penalties.
I agree.
This year.
Yeah, I agree.
This year. Yeah.
I agree with that.
I know. See, folks, all right. This has been brought up before. 14 losses in OT. Folks, I'm telling you now, in the second half of a season, NHL season, you want to lose in overtime. You do not want to lose in regulation.
You want the point.
You want the points. Granted, Anders Lee, for as mediocre of a line that came out, we got the point. He's right. Because despite this debacle over the last week, the Islanders have gone over Washington. They have now gone over Pittsburgh, and we're tied with New Jersey entering tomorrow. If the Islanders get a point, any way, shape, or form, and the Devils lose tomorrow, guess who's in fourth place? Okay? It's not the loser points. Loser points is it's misguiding you guys. It's not about the wins. It's about the losses in regulation. The NHL still worries about quality over quantity. It's to beat the teams in regulation. That's why you have the standings of regulation wins. Whoever has the most regulation wins in a tie gets that tiebreaker. Look, in all honesty, you can go 13-0 and I think it's what, 50, 59? 13-0 and 59. Guess how many points? No, is that maybe a little bit more? Whatever it is, 13 games over. It's a 95-point season. That's all you got to get. 13 games over, NHL 500, and you got 95 points. It doesn't matter. Now, with everything going on the trade deadline, am I expecting the Penguins to lose a little bit more? Yes. Am I expecting Caps to lose a little bit more? Yes. The longer the Devils don't get themselves a goaltender, I don't think they can hold up. And I love what Philly's doing. Out of respect, as an NHL fan, I love what Philly's doing. But again, I don't know if they hold on. John Tortorella, Coach of the Year, no doubt. I think they have to make a move in order to keep up with the Islanders right now. The Islanders cannot be beaten in regulation. No one's complaining about Boston with their 11 overtime losses, but they're winning. The Islanders are that close. We're literally talking 55 minutes, 56 minutes of playing time, and it's that 3 or 4 that they're just slipping. They're close.
We just got to keep it close before the trade deadline. We got to be within 7 or 8 points at the trade deadline, and anything more than that, then you're going to have too many teams to climb over.
Right. And Robert, we're going to agree with this to a degree. Still playing an all-out half-court press mentality of basketball, which Lambert had implemented, which is true. It works great when we retrieve the puck but you get burned when the two wingers get beaten on over pursuit, over the pinch. And that's what we've been talking about. That's what Wa's been trying to fix, that positioning. That's why he got on Enval. That's why he's been on some of the players. They've been out of position. That is what Wa has been trying to work on. And unfortunately, we're starting to realize now that's going to take a little more time than what we want. You know what? We didn't get into that so much. I didn't do that kind of research yet, Robin. This was more of a rumor water cooler talk night, but I can do that for you next week. And Jim's right. Tampa Bay, Detroit, Philly, we are within striking range. We are there. Now, to Joe's credit, 7 points back of any team, that's usually a bad cutoff, okay? We're not there yet in terms of the amount of games played. Usually by 62 games, 65 games, 7 points behind is like 7 games behind in baseball. Okay. So there's still a solid week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, depending on the schedule, for us to really worry about that. I'm not worried about it just yet. St. Louis is next on our schedule. It's literally one game at a time. Don't go jumping just yet. I'll let you know when you guys have to worry about the standings and the schedule, because I'll tell you right now, March 10th, March 11th, look at the standings, scoreboard, watch as much as you want, because then 1 point in the NHL is usually like one game back in baseball anyway. No.
Nick, I just want to answer Nick's question about the Ranger overtime goal. If a defensive player knocks the net off, Nick, while the offensive player is in the act of shooting, the act of shooting supersedes the net being knocked off the moorings. So it's
which Panarin was shooting. Yes.
Yeah. And also Jim mentioned Detroit, Tampa Bay, and Philadelphia. Those are the teams that are going to be looking to make moves to better themselves.
They have to.
So the Islanders and Devils are going to be forced to better their team, because those teams are definitely going to make moves.
Yes. Yes. This is going to be I got to be nice. What kind of a show? A crap show? Heading into heading into the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of nonsense going on. Most teams around us have been wildly inconsistent too. Need a 4 or 5 game heater.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely.
4-game winning streak, Ryan.
We
4-game
always
winning
talk-
streak. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Sorry, Paul. No, I'm saying, Paul, we always talk about that. If the Islanders could put together 4 or 5 wins, then a loss, then another 3 or 4 wins, that's winning hockey.
Yeah.
It's winning hockey.
Nick, we're going to answer this one for you. It was redirected, but it was hit off of Dobson, went off of Sorokin, and then went in the net. That's all part of the process. If it goes off of Dobson and then a Ranger player, that's when the goal is not allowed.
Right.
But unfortunately, another Ranger did not touch it, which is why the goal was allowed. That's why it was a good goal. Let's just say, for example, Chris Kreider, who normally parks in front of the net anyway. If Chris Kreider touched the puck after Dobson hit the puck, that would not have been a goal. Yes, Nielsen is heating up again. You know, you know what? And I'm going to give credit. I'm going to give credit also to Oliver Wahlstrom. I don't know if you guys have been watching him, guys, but he's been doing everything but get the puck.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in the right positions. Okay. And I've been seeing some lazy plays, some lazy line changes that have prevented Wahlstrom from getting the puck right in that wheelhouse, right in front of the goalie, or right where he can take a slap shot. No one's passing him the puck. I don't know why, but positionally, Wahlstrom is right there. And he hasn't gotten the puck. He needs to get the puck. The center's got to get him somewhere. Wallstrom's playing this game. If Wahlstrom gets hot, forget what I just said about the Islanders and LA talking. That may not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Thanks for coming on, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. You know what? I have not. Yeah, Romanov's been great with the offensive numbers. I'm getting a little annoyed with Romanov playing passionately all over the place. I need him to be in one spot and concentrate on that one spot.
Mm-hmm.
Him walking in front of Dobson basically allowed the Rangers to score that one goal. I've seen that quite a bit this season. I don't want to say put a leash on Romanov, but keep him contained on one side, or the two of them have got to communicate better. I'm starting to see a little bit of stuff that I saw last year from the two of them, and that's why they were broken up last year. Contain Romanov just a little bit.
He's the guy that has to step up at the blue line and flatten somebody.
Yes.
The Islander defensemen are backing too deep into the zone. The top of the faceoff circles, that's where most goal scorers like to shoot the puck from. And you're giving that to them. Okay, I'll tell you that. Pellick's overtime winner. Okay?
Yeah.
How do you let a guy skate right over your blue line like that?
No communication.
In overtime.
That's exactly what they said.
How do you do that? Flatten him. Step up on him. You still have another guy with you. One of the defensemen that's what made Danico and Stevens so great. Danico took the man, Stevens threw the hit. That's it.
Yep. And Joe,
See,
just for fun here.
I agree with you, Robert. That's it. Bingo.
Yeah. I don't think Robert Bortuzzo is going to be let go unless they're going to trade him for a draft pick of some kind. But if the Islanders are anywhere near a playoff spot, I would keep Bortuzzo just for this factor right here. Danico and Stevens, give him that little psychological fear. I'm all right with that. Granted, he's a little slower, but my God, if Bortuzzo, catches you, look out. And Bortuzzo can still block shots. You need that in the playoffs, especially come playoff time.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Why isn't Mayfield getting benched? All right, Thomas, great question. The Islanders need him. Plain and simple. Now, does this exonerate him for making some stupid penalties? Absolutely not. If you're an Islander fan and you want to boo Mayfield the next time you see him at a home game, absolutely.
Yep.
Go for it. If the coach is not able to bench him, remind Mayfield that he is still accountable and that he is going to be under a microscope for the rest of this season. I know a lot of people are not happy with the contract, and I've already talked about the contract. Okay. Don't worry about the contract. However, that was not a great play. He has been doing that all season long. However, if Mayfield rises to the occasion, he hears the booing, he rises to the occasion, he makes the play, you are supposed to cheer him on, folks. Booing is one thing. He's earned it. There's no doubt about it. But if he makes a key play, you better cheer for him too. This is not a one-way street.
Right.
Go both ways. Absolutely. He has earned your booing. There's no doubt about it. He knows that. He's expecting it. Build up his character. Go right ahead. As a matter of fact, they all need it. Joe, I'm gonna go real quick. That stadium loss, I think, was necessary. I think it was a necessary loss because I think it really magnified that the players, this is so much on the players now, and I think the players are finally mad at themselves. It was just under 1.7 million people watching this game, including in that arena, including the football field, MetLife Arena. 1.7 million people watch the Islander players collapse. And I think the players, I'm hoping it stuck with them, and I hope they're mad at themselves that they get this fixed up. Do you think something like that could have happened? Was this like a real good gut check?
They had one kick in the ass by having their head coach replaced. Okay.
Right.
That's kicking the ass number one. Kicking the ass number two. If this game doesn't open up your eyes, number one, who beat you, how they beat you, and where they beat you. Okay? Yeah. In front of 80,000 people, you got embarrassed. I mean, that was an embarrassing loss. If that doesn't set a fire under you, nothing will.
Right.
Nothing will. I mean, this is it. This is, like you said, maybe we needed this loss to get the rest of the season kickstarted. Let's hope it does. I mean, again, against Pittsburgh, we played a strong 40 minutes. But then that third period, there was that collapse again. Why is this happening? It's not the head coach. It's not Lou Lamoriello. It's the players. It's the players. That's it. They got to fix it.
Yeah, and folks, let me be very, very clear. I do love Scotty Mayfield. He does have it in him.
Absolutely.
He's still one of those players I would absolutely put in the last minutes of the game. But truthfully, I think that's what I would do. I stick him right back in the fire until they get it right. Sounds a little harsh, but
listen,
they have to figure out how to win a full 60 minutes, Joe. They have to figure it out themselves.
Listen, he didn't blow that game for the Islanders.
No.
Okay. He didn't blow that game. The penalty kill blew that game.
Yeah.
Okay. Just shutting down your game in that third period blew the game. You can't blame it on one player, because you could pick 3 or 4 other players that turned the puck over at crucial times and with other mistakes. But you can't blame one player for that game.
And Jim, I'm going to go off that. He's a playoff player. He is. I want him playing playoff hockey now for the rest of the year. Get into that mentality that you are in a playoff mode. You're in a playoff season until June. Do it. Time to get into that mode. It's just exactly what Patrick Waugh said. So, yeah.
Paul, I'm going to have to jump out.
Go ahead. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you next week.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. All right.
Yep.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, any other final questions, comments, concerns? Great discussion here this last half hour. Yeah, look, where is it here? Yeah, we already got confirmation for the most part. Nelson's not getting traded. He's not. He's not. Lou's made. I think Lou went on the Michael K show, and they said it's playoffs or bust. They're not trading Nelson. They are going to be buyers. I think I've been saying that before. I said that on the last show. They're not trading Brock Nelson. So I know a lot of fans may want that. I can tell you right now, it's not happening. Yeah. Do you think they will make the playoffs, and how far will they go? Yeah, Nick. For my own, and only speaking for myself here, I do have the Islanders. I had the Islanders making the playoffs. Um, at the beginning of the season, I'm going to hold on to it. Um, Again, I think we have Carolina if we were to play in the first round. Um, for me, playoffs. Get in there. Get into the playoffs. How far will they go? This is one of the reasons why I love watching the NHL playoffs over any other sport. It's not that you don't know, it's who's healthy when this season when that new season starts. Um, it's tough to say. I would love to answer that question about how far will they go in a couple of weeks. I need to know how healthy they are. If they're healthy, they're ready to go. I'll give you an honest answer. But give me until April, and I'll give you an honest answer. But for now, yes, I still think they can make the playoffs. Yeah. Not the most frustrating thing about the season over any other seasons is the amount of games we lost by beating ourselves and not against other teams. Of course, that's it. Maddening. Maddening, Robert. That would be the word that probably best describes in one word, maddening. Yeah. Ruined the team? No. No, no, no. Believe me, as someone who follows the draft and the prospects, if we were to go into a full rebuild, we will be worse than Buffalo. No doubt. No doubt. All of those prize prospects that many people don't think we have, they're in college right now vying for a national championship. We do have prospects. They are on the way. It's taking much longer. And believe me, COVID kind of wrecked or not wrecked, but they delayed their development on some of those players. Some of them are coming. It's not the end of the world. The Islanders will be fine. He hasn't ruined the team. Trust me. He's not San Jose. It's not Chicago. It's not Anaheim. Trust me. We are not a bottom five like that bad. Not even close. I did like that Pellet goal. I love the fact that Pittsburgh just let him right in, too. Pellick needed that goal. Pellick needed that goal just like Pullock needed that goal when he was injured. I want to see at least 4 more goals like that from Pellick. I need Pellick and Pullock to get it all together. Absolutely. It's a different beast, but you know what, Angie? I want to see this team healthy. I do. I want to see this team healthy, and I'm gonna throw out this other stat for you guys, and this is why I'm excited with Pellick and Pullock coming back. Um, when the Islanders defensemen, in any way, shape, or form, score 3 points or more in a game, they're 12-4-3. 12-4-3. Okay. When the defense gets scoring, it's over. That's Carolina like. When the Islanders defensemen score 2 points, they're 6-3-6. That's the killer right there. They're like that one forward away, that one forward awakening, or that one stupid play that shouldn't happen. But when the Islanders defense score 3 points in a game or more, they're 12-4-3. And now we're getting Pellick and Pullock back for a full season. I'm ecstatic to see them healthy for the rest of the season. I don't think they'll make it, and if they'll do, it'll be a quick 5 games and they're done. Fair enough. Fair enough. That could very well happen. Absolutely. Uh, let's find out. I would, 5 games, couple of overtimes, perhaps. I love playoff hockey. That's just a favorite time of season for me personally. I watch all those games, so it's not just the Islanders. Yep, yep, Jim. We're going to talk about Bridgeport a little bit more. Things seem to be very, they're coming together much better, and yeah, a little more confidence now in the younger players, a little more offense, which is what they've been needing because they were last in the AHL this whole season. What's happening with Maggio? It's a maturing process. It's a maturing process. It's understanding. It's allowing the game come to him. Am I calling him up this year? Absolutely not. Um, it's one of those situations where he's on a good little hot streak. Let him ride that wave. They're not making the playoffs. Keep him in that winning environment for right now. What you want Maggio to do is have a really good offseason. A really good offseason. The nutrition, the strength program, the skating. He now understands what it takes to become a pro or to be a pro. Okay, this was just his first year from juniors into the pro league. Now he knows what it takes. Let me see Maggio at 195, 197. Let him put on a little more muscle to go along with that speed. I still feel right now Maggio could be a Julian Gauthier for the Islanders. A bottom six guy, can score some goals, but if he can work on the two-way game while down in Bridgeport, yeah, I like that out of Maggio. I really do. I think he could be solid in that. Retool, perhaps, but that is an off-season question. Right now, playoffs are bust. Ryan, I'm going to respectfully disagree. Most fans may not realize, but the Islanders have been retooling pretty much since 2020 when they traded for J.G. Pajot. Okay, none of those draft picks have panned out. None. And all the Islanders have done is replaced those draft picks with players who can play and win now. So they are doing, I don't want to call it the Boston Bruins because the Boston Bruins, they drafted 3 or 4 first round picks that one year. And that was 2015. And they're still winning with those players now. The Islanders have just been doing it and trading those picks once a year. They're slowly in a retool here. The nice thing about it is that for now, they don't have to trade their first round pick. Could I see them trade their first round pick in this year's draft? Yes. Is this also a draft where I could see a defenseman turn out to be the best prospect in the draft? Yes. As years go on. Does the potential drop after number 10? Absolutely. So no, they have been retooling and they've been drafting college players, some decent college players, but they're not ready yet. Some of them are ready to come up to Bridgeport now. They were ready last year, but like I said, they were going for national championships. And if you guys have been following the show, you guys absolutely know I would rather have those kids going for a national championship than playing in Bridgeport. Go for that winning atmosphere. Go for it all. But no, they've been retooling. But no, playoffs are bust. I agree. Yep, Maggio's on fire. That's fine. Let that kid go. Let him go, but keep him there. Get him through the offseason. Get him through that training. No, he's not ready next season. Stop it. I hate it when you guys rush all these prospects. Drives me nuts. Oh, thank you, sir. Yes, was it 3? Yeah, it felt like 4 or 5, Robin. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, we won't forget Gary. I know. No, Gary has been working. That's why Gary's not here. This is Gary's, very busy season right now. But yeah, it was Boston's 3 picks. They did it very quick. Yes, and you know what? Again, nothing official. Okay. Kyle McLean is going to be an example as to why the Islanders don't have to draft in the first round. This is why Boston has been successful. This is why Tampa has been successful. This is why our, prospect pools have been down in the 30s. They've been signing these junior players when they're done with their junior years. They've been re-signing or signing college free agents. You're going to start to see this is going to be a new wave. This is going to be a new way of drafting and getting those prospect pools built up. Kyle McLean is a perfect example. He just, McLean, the power play coach, he wasn't here when Kyle was, signed. I think he was after the first year. Okay. But you bring in a junior player like McLean. He's done with his junior year, junior season, and you develop him into the player that you want and that he can excel at. And then you can see him come in, and now you have a question. Do you want to keep G. Pajot when Kyle McLean could possibly match his same numbers? $5 million to pennies on the dollar. You can do that. Kyle McLean is now an asset. I don't think you're going to trade Kyle McLean. I think Patrick Waugh kind of let his hand slip there when he said he's got a future with the team. Okay. Now, all of a sudden, you may not have cap space, but now you've got cap to move if you wanted to, if you understand what I mean. Long-term contracts be damned. There are other players, that you can still move. So it's not out of the question that you're going to see Kyle McLean come up and play. Don't be surprised if you hear the name Alex Jeffries from Merrimack College make his way up into the Islanders over the next year or two, preferably 2, but we'll see what happens. Grant Hutton, one of Joe's favorite right-handed defensemen, he's in Bridgeport. He fits a Patrick Waugh system, but again, he was signed out of college. Grant Hutton plays a very younger version, stay-at-home Adam Pelech style. Okay? He can replace Scott Mayfield if injured short term. That's what the Islanders are going to be doing. That's what the Boston Bruins have been doing. That's what Tampa Bay has been doing. The other thing that the Islanders have been getting very good at are your Hudson Fashings, your Julian Gauthiers, players who had to spend a little more time in the American Hockey League, but are ready for that shot at the NHL. Right now, because of those 2 signings, you can pencil them in, hopefully, for, Matt Martin and Cal Clutterbuck next season. And again, you've got some kids in Bridgeport who are eventually going to replace those players. Okay. Samuel Bolduc. Listen, Bolduc is doing exactly what I was hoping. I'm not even looking at the numbers. Don't worry about the numbers. He's getting in close to half a season. He's getting the Noah Dobson treatment. He is a number 7 defenseman right now in the NHL. Doesn't matter for who. Okay. Mike Riley has been putting up some beautiful offensive numbers. You can put Mike Riley down for 1 more year or 2, doesn't really matter. But when Samuel Bolduc is ready to go, he's going to be a solid 6 defenseman, left-handed defenseman. He could be a top 4. He could be with the right kind of development. Just takes a little more time. I like him. I like his play. Don't worry about his numbers right now. It's not about that. It's about him getting his full season in, practicing, getting at least half those games in. I'm not worried with Bolduc. I like his future with the Isles. I don't think they have to do anything. So I like the defensive core. Isaiah George will eventually be a good defenseman, but keep him in Bridgeport next season. Kaleo Delias is going to be another good, probably a bottom 6 defenseman, but he's been injured this year. The Islanders have prospects coming in, but there's no rush for them. You need more of those professionals coming in. But Bolduc is looking good. How could Beauvillier play with a coach like Waugh? The intensity of being bilingual, of course. You know what? He didn't do that great with Barry Trotz. Sorry. He could have been better under Barry Trotz. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. It's a good question, Robert, because I almost felt like if I were to put money on it, I would almost put Beauvillier going to Montreal when he's a free agent. I almost see that coming. Would he play for Patrick Waugh? Maybe. I don't know where we're going to put Beauvillier at this point. Travis Mitchell. Travis Mitchell's having one of those seasons where it's like, oh, so this is professional hockey. Yeah, college to professional sometimes takes a little longer for some of these players. I believe he's left side. Yeah, let's see how his conditioning is. There's a lot of young players. Let me rephrase that. There are a lot of first-year players in Bridgeport. And for those of you who don't know, I believe Bridgeport has 24 or 25 games determined by 1 goal this season. 24 or 25 games determined by 1 goal. Most of them are losses. Okay, so they're all learning. What they all need is a solid summer of getting themselves into professional shape. Travis Mitchell's no different. Travis Mitchell, I probably put him behind Bolduc. I've also really liked, I'm not going to lie, Dennis Chalowski. A little more offense. I think he's starting to come around. Robin Salo's done well so far, but those two should be dominating a little bit more. Ooh, James. Crap. What is our weakest line? Do you play Fashing over Wally, Homie, or Matty Martz? I'm not going to lie. When I saw Matty Martz only play 5 minutes at the stadium game, I think Fashing's got to go in for Matty Martz. Having said that, the weakest line, 5-on-5, is still the third line. The identity line, we know what they're supposed to do, and they still do that. The second line is starting to get hot. Hopefully, Pierre and Vol can put a few more points up. The first line is the first line. The third line, the Pajot, Wallstrom, and Holmstrom line, 5-on-5 have not done it so far this year. Even with Gauthier on that line, it's still not enough. Again, I've been watching Wallstrom, and I want you guys to watch that St. Louis game tomorrow night. Look at Wallstrom's positioning. See if he's in the right position, and let's see how often he gets the puck. I didn't like the way they treated him during that game against the Rangers. He was in the spot. He never got the puck. He should have gotten the puck, and it didn't happen. But in all honesty, the weakest line, 5-on-5, is definitely that Pajot line. Chalowski on his last year, he might be. But you know what? It suddenly just came together for him like every other Bridgeport player, especially lately. But who knows? It might be his last chance. He's a restricted free agent. We'll see if the Islanders re-sign him. Ishakov, Shakov to KHL next year. It's possible. I mean, he's a restricted free agent, so no matter what, the Islanders are going to have his rights. I wouldn't be shocked. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind putting a Shakov as a 13th forward, 14th forward, and giving him the Bolduc treatment. Letting him stay with the team for the full season. If there are any injuries to that left-hand side, put him in. Put him in. He's fast. But, can he take a hit? What's he going to do with the blue line when all the defenders figure him out? That's going to be a worry for me. Listen, I've said this before. Ruslan Ishakov is your Matt Barzal of the American Hockey League. Many other people have said the same thing and have agreed with what I've said. He is Matt Barzal of the American Hockey League. Do you want two Matt Barzals playing the same style in the NHL? That's tough. Look, if the kid put on a little more weight, it'd be glorious. But he again, a lot of the highlights you see are 3-on-3 or the shootouts, not necessarily 5-on-5. A lot of these defenders, they know his game plan and they kind of meet him at the blue line, and then he kind of, chokes up. You see, and again, he does those turnovers that Barzal does in the offensive zone as well. It would drive you nuts. So if he goes to the KHL, he'd probably be perfect for it. But again, put him a 13th forward and let's see what happens. Keep him on the team. Let's see what, I would like to put him on the look. I don't know about now, though. I don't know now. Yeah, putting him in right now, it's got to be an injury. But no, 13th forward next season, I'm all right with that. If the team needs a spark, put him in. If Anders Lee goes into a severe slump, put a Shakov in. You know what I mean? I think a Shakov could be a great bridge between Lee and Jeffries. I do. And he can. He can, but believe it or not, that's not necessarily home. It is, but it isn't. He's got roots in Russia, but I don't think he calls Russia home. I might be mistaken on that. I know he was living in the States for a while. Yeah, yeah. He's there, Ryan. Again, I would love to test him out, but again, there's a part of me that's like, my God, if he gets hit, I'm gonna feel bad because he's already had one bad concussion. But again, it's been years ago since he was at UConn. But I don't know. I'd like to give him a shot. 13th forward. Let's see what he's got. I don't think he has anything else to prove in the American Hockey League. He is who he is. Yeah, 13th forward, and just go from there. See how his camp is. Yes, I agree with that, Robert. Great mentor for Bolduc. Yeah. And the key was, and this is what we were talking about. This is what Joe and I were talking about. Bortuzzo was a talker out there. He was telling Bolduc where to go. Okay. I think the Islanders had more of that. I don't think we'd be in the problems that we'd have. I think you need more Bortuzzos out there, at least vocal wise. Excuse me. And I think you'd have something there. But no, that's it. Yeah. Ishakov, 13th forward. Why not? If Anders Lee starts to slump a little, put him in. Let that kid ride. What I would, what I would love to see, and this is actually funny. If Bo Horvat has Ishakov on his left and Barzell on his right, literally ice the puck and let the two of them go at it to reach the puck before any of those other defensemen. It would never be icing. It wouldn't. That's how fast they are. That's what I want to see. So, they've got that speed, but they both have that stick handling. They both have that turnover ratio. I don't know. Yeah, see, why not? That would be a race. I still think Barzell is faster than Ishakov, but I'll tell you what, I think they would both beat out the icing on those defenders. Oh, James, I'm sure they did. He never keeps the stick down. That's all he's got to do. He's too fast to keep that stick up there. I know what he's trying to do, but he's not literally behind the defender. He's on this side. So the moment that stick comes up, the Rangers or any other hockey player, they know to tuck it underneath to make it look like it's hooking. He's got to keep the stick down. He's got to go chase him. That's what he's got to do. Those are stupid penalties. Those are the stupid penalties. I can't stand them. So, any other questions, comments, concerns moving forward here? Yeah, listen, folks. Standings real quick. The Islanders are right there despite everything going on right now. I have them in fourth. Okay. If the Devils lose tomorrow and the Islanders get themselves another overtime loss, guess what? They're in fourth place. They're officially in fourth place with Philadelphia. Anybody got that Philadelphia score? Yeah, Fleury. That's true. Yeah, okay. Good point on the goal differential. Go with the goal differential now with Patrick Waugh. Look at the goal differential with Patrick Waugh. You can't go through the whole season anymore. It's a different coach. It's a different style. It's a little bit of a change. Crap. 3-1 Flyers. Crap. The Flyers just won't go away. Good for them, but they won't go away. Crap. Yeah, goal differential. You know what? That's what I'll do for you guys next week. I will come up with all the stats. No, I don't think they're a negative, Robin. I think they're a positive right now. What I will do is, since Patrick Waugh's been with the team now for 15 games or more, I will come up with all those stats for you next week. We can talk that over, and we'll go over any trades that may or may not happen. We'll do a little more on the rumors. Yeah, and I agree with that. Tell the channel to sell the trip a bit. Granted, but again, national TV, the refs have just been taking over. Keep your stick closer to you. That's it. If the refs are going to determine the game, keep the stick closer or keep it down. Yes, they're a minus 22 for the entire season. but their goal differential is not a -22 under Patrick Waugh. So what I'm going to do is by next week, we should have played 15 games with Patrick as a head coach. So I'm going to get all those stats ready for you guys next week, and we'll see how well Patrick Waugh has been doing as a coach for the first 15 games. Nuts. So yeah, no, I'll do that for you guys. And -12 from all the losses alone. Yeah. True. 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 But no, we'll go from there. And yeah, so yeah, I'll get you all the Patrick Waugh stats next week as coach. I don't know who we're going to bring on as a guest. I'll see how Gary's doing. Like I said, a little under the weather. He's been very busy with work and whatnot, and I think we're going to have Joe back on next week. So, is there a topic you want me to cover? I'm here for you guys. So, anything you want me to cover? We'll go over Patrick Waugh's stats for next week. That's no problem. Anything else? Okay. And while we're at it, once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on. Don't forget to follow Isles Talk on X at Isles Talk. Please like and follow us on Facebook and hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. It helps with all the analytics. It's been helpful immensely, especially on YouTube. That's been great. Real quick, second period stats. I have them. I'll give you a real quick rundown here. Goals for 58, goals against 72. Bad. But I'll go deeper into those second period stats for you next week. Bridgeport, give me a couple more weeks, Thomas. Again, they're all just learning the system. They're all finally experiencing what the professional hockey league is, and I think it's all coming together for them. Give them a little more time. So, again, thank you everyone for coming on. Please follow us on all the socials. We'll be back next week. Let's go Islanders. I think they can take out St. Louis, but again, an overtime loss is still a point. So, uh, if New Jersey loses tomorrow, which we're all hoping for, the Islanders secure fourth place, and then we look ahead to Philly. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on. We'll see you next Wednesday. Let's go Islanders, and take care.